Jackie is an actress, TV personality, and empowered mom. Her love for her children shines bright and continues to inspire mothers to do and be their best all over the country. In everything she does, she embodies hard work and unwavering faith, and that is what makes her the empowered individual that she is today.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of In Love With Me, where we feature inspiring individuals who will share their amazing stories. I am your host, Mafae Velasco, and for this series, our topic is being empowered during quarantine. For this episode, we have an empowered woman, actress, TV personality, and an amazing mom. So without further ado, guys, let me introduce the beautiful and amazing Jackie Forster. Hi, Jack.
Hi everybody. Hi Mama, how are you?
Good. I'm so glad I get to catch up with you. I know it's been a while since we saw each other, but when I last saw you, I was just still admiring the fact that you're such a super mom. You're always traveling here to there, and I'm glad you're in the Philippines and your family's complete. But during this quarantine, I'm sure you've been keeping yourself busy also. So before I ask you about what you've been up to, can you please share with everyone on how you became the inspiring and empowered woman that you are today?
How? Well, my journey began when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt, my mom's sister, was a model in the Philippines, and so she had connections, and I always looked up to her. So when I was about 12, I just wanted to get into modeling. I felt like I wanted to perform, and so through her connections, she started calling people, and then I ended up coming home to the Philippines. So that's where my journey actually began. I mean, this whole concept of being empowered, I think, as a young girl, you don't know your power, right? I started at 12, and then I also started family at 12. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at a young age, at
Mm-hmm.
16. So it was only like 4 years that I got to kind of work and learn a little bit more about life, basically,
Mm-hmm.
until I was thrown into motherhood. So
Right.
and even then, I was only 16. So parang ang tagal before I kind of, found my footing.
Mm-hmm.
Even at sure, obviously, right? I'm only 16. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wasn't sure who I was. It's really, really up until I started having, encountering problems. It's really through
Mm-hmm.
experience, and circumstances where you kind of understand what kind of powers we have, right?
Yeah.
And those powers can make us and they can break us. I mean, it's just really black and white, right? So
Right.
it's only when I started, I had my separation, and then I started having like a identity crisis. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
sure, like, what am I doing with my life? Who am I? This is at 21. At 21,
Mm-hmm.
where most young ladies are barely getting out of college.
Yeah.
They're barely starting to date. They're barely starting to, understand the world and their bodies and all these things.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm a mother. I'm separated,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm unemployed. So it's only when I started experiencing problems that I really understand that I have control over this. I have control over this. But even then, ang tagal. It's problem
Mm-hmm.
after problem after problem after problem. And when you choose to get back up, when you
Yeah.
choose to face it, when you choose
Mm-hmm.
to understand it and accept it, that's the only time really you start having, parang data, di ba? You start,
Yes.
then you understand you have so much information, you have so much knowledge, and even the mistakes, even the mistakes are the biggest ones for me
Yes.
because they teach you the most. It's not when
Mm-hmm.
it's not the highs. The highs make
Yes.
you feel something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and for that moment, that let's say you give birth or you have an award or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, that high is almost momentary, don't you think? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and then what after that, and then what? But it's the
Mm-hmm.
problems. It's every day, dala mo yan, especially when you
Mm-hmm.
encounter more issues. And
Yeah.
even my journey as an actress, uh, I didn't understand until I left showbiz, until
Mm-hmm.
I left the country in 2007 when I went to Malaysia to live with
Yeah.
to be with my husband now. Did
Mm-hmm.
I understand? Because when you're in the Philippines, especially when you're a personality, a celebrity, you
Yeah.
live in a bubble.
Yeah.
You live in a bubble. It's like this world, as real as it is for a lot of people, because you live in it, right?
Yes.
It's not really the real world.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Like when you
Yeah.
start traveling and people don't know you, and then you understand you're really only human. You're really only just this person, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all of that being a celebrity, or like some nanny. I never told my children that I was an actress. It was
Yeah.
just a few years because I don't wanna,
Yeah.
ayoko ma-influence lang sila dahil lang yan ang mama ko or dahil lang
Right.
yan ang ginagawa ng daddy ko. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I want them to have their own path based
Mm-hmm.
on their own passions, right? So a few years ago, I think because I was so busy with Katie, right? Nagkasakit siya that Jared was playing. I don't know if he was playing outside or we were at the mall. But a nanny went up to him and said, uh, um, called me and he said, "Hey, how come you know my mom? Are you her friend?" And she's like, "No." Then how do you know her name is Jackie Forster? And she's like, "Oh, you don't know? Your mama is a famous celebrity in the Philippines." So those things don't really.
Mm-hmm.
The reality doesn't seep in until you realize, wow, people do know you. Like I went to
Mm-hmm.
Paris one time, and there was a Filipino in Champs Elysees was like calling my name, and I was like, "What?" I thought I would turn around and see a friend, and
Yeah.
I was with a French friend, and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"That's your friend. Like, let's go help him because you almost tripped, right?" And I was like, "No,
Yeah.
no, 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 I don't know him." And he's like, "Huh? Like, what? Why does he know you?" I don't tell people. I don't go. I don't tell people what I do. I used to always tell
Mm-hmm.
people that I was a makeup artist. So
Yeah.
there's those little bits, those little moments that it dawns on you that you have some kind of influence,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you have some kind of reach. When people recognize you and stuff in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's not like there are really all these defining moments. They're just like
Yeah.
little bits and pieces of maybe because I don't want to be so consumed by it that I don't kind of
Mm-hmm.
look. I just let it come to me.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think I talked about that because I had Nico, my son. I interviewed him, and I asked him about that. How did you feel, when people ask you, if you're going to be a basketball player, or how in the Philippines we love Filipinos, but sometimes it's just
the
very
pressure.
bold on what you say, and
Yeah.
actually you're hurting someone's feelings instead of praising them.
You're
So.
pressuring him. Yeah, it's a child.
So I mean, for him, he saw it as a positive, but for you, of course, you're coming from reintroducing yourself somewhat of what you've done in your life to your children. How did you make them feel that you're still mom, but at the same time you had a successful career, you were inspired by others. So how did that translate? Well, how was the communication between you and your children, the younger ones, of
Uh,
course?
that only started happening recently, like maybe in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because or maybe about 3 years. So when we moved to Mexico from Singapore,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not Asia anymore, right? And you don't expect to see Filipinos there. And then there was no English. So unlike in Singapore, there's English, right? So it was almost like you felt a little secluded and alone, and you didn't. I didn't have. I don't. I hardly have any help, right? My
Mm-hmm.
parents or my family can't come because they're all working. You know how life is in America, right?
Yeah.
Um, Jared started showing signs of wanting to perform,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been very very open about my journey with him. Jared had ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and that has the scope is pretty wide. So he
Yeah.
has a variation, and there
Mm-hmm.
he has good days and he has bad days, you know. So, but
Mm-hmm.
at this point, when he was about 11,
Mm-hmm.
he was going into middle school or last year of elementary. You know, at this point, I've been taking him like in Singapore and Malaysia to voice lessons because he likes it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like seeing him do things that I love, right? But
Mm-hmm.
also just because that's what he wants to do. So when he was in Mexico, I had to kind of start letting go, like
Mm-hmm.
stop feeding him, and I told him, you know, I can't feed you your lines. You know, if you want to audition for this play, you have to do it yourself. You have to understand, you know, what audition piece you have and all these
Mm-hmm.
things. And that's when it started. Like, I started realizing these are those moments that I'm instilling things in them. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't until maybe 2 years after that, um, where, oh no, yeah, no, the next, and then the next year, sorry, dami na namin
It's
na
okay.
when we got to London and he
Uh,
was really going full force with his performing, did I,
yeah.
you know, kind of start opening up, you know, like my experience and my past. Actually, a lot of people don't know this. Just a few
Mm-hmm.
of my closest friends, but I actually have stage fright.
Mm-hmm.
Stage fright. So you know how now everybody throws around, you know, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have this. I've
Yeah.
had a lot of that, like a mixture of it
Mm-hmm.
through the
Mm-hmm.
years growing
Yeah.
up, and I didn't really know what to call it until I realized, you know, I really it's I have stage fright and I have anxiety
Mm-hmm.
performing in front of big crowds, but
Right.
I've been able to push through it because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do. I think it's just like human nature, like a
Yeah.
survival instinct, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you're nervous or something and you just kind of
Mm-hmm.
soldier through that.
Mm-hmm.
So only through my children's journey did I kind of reconnect with who I was. And then
Mm-hmm.
Kaylee started performing in
Yeah.
school and, you know, started showing, you know, all these talents and skills. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't anymore hide from who I was as much as I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to keep it from them. And I felt like I could use it, you know, because also attached to being a celebrity
Mm-hmm.
all the gossip and all the
Right.
bad news about you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to just, you know, shut the door on that and just keep it
Mm-hmm.
buried.
Yeah.
Because if I told you who I was and you just put it
Mm-hmm.
into Google, then all these things are gonna pop
Yeah.
up and it's not who I
Right.
am. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe bits of it is what I went through, but that again,
Mm-hmm.
it's not who I am. So I think that's probably why, knowing that my children started learning how to access, you know, the internet and stuff. So there are parts of that you don't know if they're ready for it. So it's also a
Yeah.
reason why, you know, I kind of kept it from them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now we're still in the process. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing is that because connected to the stage fright. So I mean, I can carry a tune, but I'm not like a singer, or
Yeah.
I never got that um, the kind of support that I'm giving my children now for their skills.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only now that, you know, Kaylee's like, Mom, sing the song with me or teach me how to sing this and whatever. Am I
Mm-hmm.
really exploring that side of me? So
Yeah.
again, it's only now because of my children that I'm like
Yeah.
rediscovering myself and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that I have more talent than I ever thought I
Mm-hmm.
knew. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? That it's kind of
Yeah.
like our children teaching us these
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's part of the journey, as difficult as it can be, but it's
Mm-hmm.
that beautiful side of it, right?
Mm-hmm. From all the moms that I love to surround myself with, I've always admired you with your strength and your patience and your courage, your faith of course, your life has been an open book. But for me, what I admired the most is that just you as a woman really showed your love for your children. And I know it wasn't an easy journey, and it still isn't. But by just seeing you unite with your children and just teaching your younger ones the happiness in their eyes, seeing pictures of them like this, I know that's Jackie. Jackie had so much patience to wait for these moments. And whenever we would see pictures that you would share. It would like, of course, there's a lot of women out there, a lot of families are praying for you, during your time, even with Kaylee, like during her time. So, that's something I wanted to tell you, and I could tell you that in private also, but that's one thing I love about you, Jackie. Your personality has always been so tough. I think you gave yourself tough love, and it really showed. It really showed how much strength you have. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are going through hardships, especially at this time. I mean, what would you share with them on how to stay hopeful?
Okay, so this is a good question. And it's good that you bring it up, because especially now in quarantine,
Yeah,
we had and still have a lot of idle time, right?
yeah,
And sometimes it could be poisonous because you have too much
yeah.
time, right?
Hmm.
But I kind of try to bring myself back on some days and just kind of reflect. And yeah, I think that's why people have a different impression of me, right? A lot of people think she's such a strong character, and I'm strong. Or masyadong straightforward yan, masyadong ganito yan. Because Filipinos, they're used to candy coating things,
Hmm.
right? Except pag nilalait ka, they can say that's straightforward, right? But but they don't understand that it's coming from uh, somewhere deeper. Like, what I
Yeah.
had to go through being raised by a single mom,
Hmm.
with growing up in America in the late 80s, early 90s, right, where there's so
Hmm.
much racism,
Hmm.
experiencing the treatment people would give me as opposed to my lolo who looked very Asian,
Hmm.
hearing them say bad things to my lolo. And there's certain things that kind of harden you, and
Hmm.
certain things that for sure definitely induce a
Hmm.
feeling in you, right? Where someone might say something and you easily get offended because it comes from a
Hmm.
past, right?
Yeah.
It's a feeling that you had before. It's familiar. At
Hmm.
the same time, my Lolo he grew up during, the war. So,
Yeah.
and he's the one that stood as my father. So he really, like, when he would go through arguments and whatever, he would always tell me, like, be strong, and when people do this, don't allow them. And I wasn't really thinking my lolo. I wasn't thinking that my lolo maybe didn't know I was a girl. Like, maybe he was turning me into a fighter, but no, when you look at it, maybe it's because I was a girl.
Yeah.
Maybe because he can't protect me all the time, right? So
Hmm.
there are so that's for my past. And then um I always felt like it's me against whomever it was, right? So if
Yeah.
I don't assert myself, I won't be heard.
Hmm.
And maybe that's because of the environment we have, especially in our
Hmm.
country, where women have been oppressed and we're like
Yeah.
really second-rate citizens, right?
Hmm.
It's only in the recent past where people really uplift the mother and praise women, right? But um, men can be they're very dominating, right? And they
Hmm.
can't take an alpha
Hmm.
female, and I'm very alpha. And so I just feel like it's layers upon layers of circumstance that have made me
Yeah.
strong and
Hmm.
tough. Now, okay, um, having married someone who's kind of opposite, he's
Hmm.
tough when he needs to be, but he's more, soft. He's more sensitive and stuff. It
Hmm.
kind of brings me back most of
Yeah.
the time, to be like, to step back and let him be the male dominant figure.
Yeah.
And through my recent, hardships, like with Kaylee, with what happened with Kaylee, I was already starting to get tired because Jared's ADHD came just before that, like 2 years
Yeah.
before, and that was already draining me,
Hmm.
because you're in and out of, you go to doctor's visits, you go to a psychiatrist, psychologist, you go to an occupational therapist, then you're getting medication, or you're talking to the principal or a parent
Yeah.
that was, you know So at that time, I just wanted to kind of let go and just, kind of rest. And then
Yeah.
this thing happened with Kaylee, and it really told me, like, you have to dig deep and really just push through, because
Mm-hmm.
children watch us, right? They watch what we
Yeah.
do, not what we say.
Right.
So, and my husband wasn't taking it well in the beginning, and I just really knew that, as a Christian, as a mother, having already gone through, not having Andre and Kobe, I feel like this is the time where I need to take out the armor. I need to
Yeah.
wear it, and then I need to, be dignified, and I just need to, even on days that I don't feel like it, I need to pretend like I'm okay. I need to pretend that I'm
Yeah.
strong and just
Mm-hmm.
act as if, because that's what they're watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that we didn't have help. We hardly. I mean, there were times we didn't have even a helper at home to help clean.
Yeah.
We hardly had family, though my mom tried to visit a few times and stay with me a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But that journey for hers was, with her, was 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So there were times I was really, like, running on empty. And that's when my husband was traveling a lot for work.
Yeah.
So half of the time, if not more, he was gone. But
Mm-hmm.
when he was there, he was there. He was very present. Um, After that, after Kaylee's thing, I really had to have, until now, it's until now, I have moments where I have to stop myself, like with COVID, right?
Yeah.
The paranoia that comes with having to just do the groceries,
Yeah.
right? A lot of what I went through with her, having to wear masks, having to be,
Yes.
extra careful and clean and sanitized, it brings back trauma, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, it's traumatizing. But I have to bring myself back to the fact that, I learned all that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that are happening, I have to look at the silver lining, which is, just spend as much time with your children,
Yeah.
teach them, what you can, just kind of remember who you are, so you know what you can do for them, especially being locked in the house, not having
Mm-hmm.
much to do, or no place to go. And I'm really decided now, because of quarantine, because of all the time that we had, that if I'm gonna talk to anyone about being strong, I have to surrender the fact that you also cannot can not be strong. You
Yeah.
can also just cry.
Mm-hmm.
You can also just be afraid. Let yourself feel whatever you're going through, and not
Mm-hmm.
pretend, because we're human. And I
Yeah.
think the more that you layer on, like strength and pretense
Mm-hmm.
and all this thing, the more it comes down on you on the days that you're really not feeling,
Mm-hmm.
you know, feeling your best.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be a balance, that you need to accept what you're going through, you need to feel it, and then you need to just decide to take that step, take
Right.
start moving forward. Let's say you're overwhelmed with, you just did the groceries and you got scared because of this happened, and now you have to sanitize the groceries, but you're
Yeah.
still overwhelmed. I what I do is I pray. I'll pray. Maybe sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'll
Mm-hmm.
take a shower to just literally wash it away, wash it off,
Yeah.
and then, hey, next thing, back to the groceries,
Mm-hmm.
back to the kitchen, clean those
Mm-hmm.
groceries, put them away.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, again, our children are watching us. So how are
Right.
they going to learn to get back up, when they're
Mm-hmm.
not feeling well? And that's another thing that I want to also ask you, because my husband and I, also my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
in America, he's a lawyer, JB, we were talking about parenting.
Yeah.
We both grew up without our fathers. We were
Mm-hmm.
both raised by our Lolo. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were like talking to each other about our parenting styles, and we're kind of similar in a sense where, if my husband and I are arguing about something, I don't
Yeah.
tell the kids to go because it's none of their business.
Right.
Do you do that? Like when you and
No.
Nick have a disagreement, you
No,
don't
we,
tell them to
we
go, right?
we have them there, and then later on we'll apologize and explain to them, because
What?
for us, our teaching is, why would we shelter them now and then let them go out in the world, and then they'll see that kind of issue happening and not and be scared about it. So it's
Right.
better for
Right.
us to teach them now, and that to make things a reality, instead of sugarcoating them. And then who know, at least they're
Yeah.
equipped. They're equipped when
Right.
they go leave the door, when they leave our
Right.
house.
Right.
Parents or couples fight. I think it's something that makes a couple grow, because once there's a dispute, and if we can be honest about our wrongdoings, or even apologize to the kids, sorry for you had to see that, but
Yeah.
this is why,
Yeah.
and of course we,
Yeah.
we keep it PG, but at the end of the day, I feel like we've healed that piece of something from them, because I know, like, um, psychology, I guess that's what the education is, and Nick had that psychology background. When someone goes through something when they're a child, and they have trauma, they'll bring it up until they're an adult. But if you're
Yeah.
able to already fix it when they're young, then they're free, their mind is free from that. Because I
Right.
know I had some traumatic stuff that happened to me when I was younger, and I'm glad that I'm more open with my parents now. But that those are the things that I think Nick and I both adjusted as parents now. Is that what you
Yeah.
were trying to?
Yeah. Yeah. Because as parents, you kind of you grow up. You're like, I am
Mhm.
never gonna talk like my mom. I'm never gonna sound like my dad. I'm gonna make sure that when I have my children, I am not gonna right. And then you grow up and you're kind of doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
it takes a sense of self reflection, and like you keep
Yeah.
each other accountable. Like, hey,
Hmm.
that's the thing that you told me you didn't want to do as a parent. So you
Right.
kind of keep each other on check, because we're not
Hmm.
perfect. It's not like you said it
Hmm.
and it's really gonna happen
Yeah.
that way.
Right.
But yeah, it's I feel like it's so, I'm sorry, but it's true, right? It's so
Hmm.
Filipino for parents
Yeah.
to be like, they'll argue behind closed doors, and then
Yeah.
suddenly they're separating and the children think it's their fault,
Right.
right? When
Right.
actually the parents were always just arguing about money or arguing
Yes.
about how busy dad was at work. It had
Hmm.
nothing to do with the kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, shielding them from that, kind of, you miss an opportunity to help them grow. It's a learning point, right?
Yeah.
Like you can have a
Hmm.
milestone right there. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously there are things that are not, if they're not, it's not age appropriate, then you don't
Hmm.
go there. But
Yeah. Of course.
right.
Of
So yeah,
course.
no, but that's good. So I was wondering, because I haven't really brought that up with a lot of my friends, because
Hmm.
obviously first I just got
Yeah.
back, and then second,
Hmm.
sometimes you're scared to be judged, right? Like, why do
Yeah.
you do that? And it's like, I'm not in a place in my life right now where I want to
Hmm.
argue.
Yeah.
I just want to be with like-minded people and
Hmm.
kind of, share information. But
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't believe in that. So that's good that you make me feel assured.
Well, everybody has their different parenting styles. I think what works for us, of course, Nick and I started off as both alphas. I had to be the one to learn how to allow him to wear the pants, like you were saying. You allowed your husband to be the dominant provider, the leader of the family. And I think when you have that balance, that's when everything falls into place. I can admit my wrongdoings when we first were a young couple, or when we first started, but then now, I guess maturing is part of that growth, and understanding each other more, and me as the woman, as the wife, listening to him more, and allowing him to be, yes, you lead, because and then everything will
Yeah.
be calm. And same goes, I think the reason why we had those arguments is because I was always blocking it. I can be honest with that. But yes, but with the children, that's something that we always agreed on, that okay, we're not going to shelter anything. Why should we? Because going out there in the world, that's what happens. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
People will fight, people will
Yeah.
argue. At least they know what to expect or what to do,
Yeah.
instead of like, oh no, I'm scared, I'm going to hide, you know?
Yeah, they get so intimidated by confrontation and by situation that they kind of
Hmm.
just fold, and then
Right.
and then they can't get over it, and then
Hmm.
they just can't, do the next task, or
Hmm.
get over that relationship, or
Yeah.
face the teacher because she confronted them about something. there's definitely there's definitely
Mm-hmm.
that hope that
Yeah.
you want to instill by exposing them to conflict and issues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, being quarantine is there's a lot of light bulb moments. It's
Yeah.
been 3 months. Like, girl, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You've like kind of assessed situations and gone
Yeah.
back, and at one point, you don't even you start like, I don't know, did it happen for you, like during quarantine? It's like I came
Mm-hmm.
here with like a list of hopes and dreams, like, okay, when I come
Yeah.
home, I hope I'm going to be able to do this, and then I dream that I can finally do this, and then lockdown, and then you're like,
Yeah.
I put that aside. I didn't want to look
Mm-hmm.
at all of that stuff for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just whatever's in hand. Like, today we don't
Mm-hmm.
have milk, okay, and then tomorrow you guys don't have school, so you need to do arts and crafts, okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I kind of stop looking towards that, because now it's more
Mm-hmm.
like survival, right?
Right. So do you think that you've learned something new about yourself during this time?
um about myself, that I can do a lot, but I really
Yeah.
cannot do it all. But I can't do it all. As much as
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to, like, balance a plate here and a cup there and something else,
Yeah.
I cannot. I cannot. You know, and that's why I try to encourage people when I have situations and I can, share a story or two on my
Yeah.
Instagram. I try to tell young ladies,
Mm-hmm.
really pray about their spouse.
Yeah.
Pray about the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. Even if
Mm-hmm.
wala ka pang
Yeah.
boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you're 18, 19 and you're watching this, like,
Yeah.
before you even think of getting serious with someone, or why would you be in a relationship if you're not going to be serious with someone, right?
Yeah.
Really think about, at 18 you don't know who you are yet. I'm telling you now, you
Mm-hmm.
know what you want in life, but you don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to kind of pray that God blesses you with discernment, wisdom, with the right person that can fill in your gaps and make,
Mm-hmm.
and really kind of highlight your strengths also.
Yeah.
And that's supportive, because life is not easy. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's not fair. There are some people that have it easy. There's some people that, there are some people that are just super blessed and, um, didn't have to work as hard as we're working, for instance, right?
Yeah.
It's true. Some people
Mm-hmm.
were born, rich. Some people were
Mm-hmm.
born with all these opportunities,
Yeah.
and so having the right partner to grow with and to support
Mm-hmm.
you when you're not sure, when you're confused, when you're scared. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the key. That's the
Mm-hmm.
key. That's really the key. Like, during quarantine, I don't know, you know, if I allow myself to think about, if I were in quarantine with my ex-boyfriend, right, and this situation happened, would he be the right person? No, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like when, as you go through things with your husband, you really feel, and when you get over it, especially when you come out
Mm-hmm.
victoriously, you have a win. You're like, yeah, we make a good team, right?
Yeah.
So I realize now in quarantine that I can't do it
Mm-hmm.
alone. I can't,
Right.
and I'm with
Mm-hmm.
the person that God really meant to be in my life, because
Mm-hmm.
it's, yeah, we've been able to get through a lot, especially this really trying time, and it
Yeah.
was because we're doing it together.
Mm-hmm. So what are the new things that you've been doing? I saw that you've been working out. Is that something like, is that a me time that you put aside?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. I don't have a nanny. I don't have
Uh-huh.
a helper in the house. Um, we don't have lavandera. Nothing. We do everything, and
Mm-hmm.
I've already kind of, told myself that I'm gonna accept the help. Like I said earlier, like, I just need to let myself, you
Yeah.
know, feel what I need to feel and just rest.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you see that? There's like a notification, but
Yeah.
so so I've been looking for help, but
Mm-hmm.
because I have my two other boys here, so we're really like full house. on the
Yeah.
weekends. Um, I've been learning to cook for more. I've been learning to kind of juggle my time, because obviously when they're here, they're only here for the weekend, and
Yeah.
they're not always together, Andre and Kobe. So
Yeah.
they also find the opportunity, I think, they
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the opportunity of being together while they're here at my house. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, Andre is super daldal. So when he when he has things that on his mind, like he talks and talks and talks. But so does my 5-year-old and Kaylee too. Like
Yeah.
they're so outspoken. So there's learning in that. Now, if you're saying, did I learn
Yeah.
how to bake and all these things? No, but I do. I do have plans on learning how to make bread, because my husband is Dutch, so he loves bread, right? And I'm not on
Yeah.
a diet, so I love bread too.
Yeah.
But that's something that's on my list. But more, I
Yeah.
just learned how to kind of balance my time, because
Mm-hmm.
this new journey I have, having Andre and Kobe here, being in the Philippines, living with them on
Mm-hmm.
some days, it's new.
Yeah.
So I'm learning. I'm learning how to manage and interact with 24-year-old and a 22-year-old.
Amazing.
It's hard.
Amazing. And you have such amazing kids, 5 handsome, beautiful children you have. Jackie, you're so blessed. And I did notice that, their names start with a letter from your name. Was that by
Yeah.
chance or
No.
sadya talaga?
Sadya talaga. So because my grandma has 7 kids,
Yeah.
and I always like growing up, it was always magulo in the house, and when it was quiet, it felt
Yeah.
sad. But
Yeah.
luckily every weekend we're together, so it's like every weekend there's a party. So I
Yeah.
really knew, like, at a young age, I felt like I wanted to have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of children. And so when I had the A and K, as as young as I was, I kind of already in my mind thought, let me see if I can start this, right? Now, after
Wow.
I had after I had Jared, I kind of wasn't sure if I wanted any more kids,
Yeah.
because it was such a difficult journey,
Yeah.
so having Katie was really a surprise. I mean, she was
Uh-huh.
she was really a gift. So
Yes.
yeah, it was by chance, but also God's will, because then
Mhm.
I have Jacky, which is not the way
Yeah.
I spell my name, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
No, no,
you
no.
planning
So
to have another?
growing up in my school documents,
Mhm.
my papers, everything, it's with a Y, because my full name is Jacqueline's, Jacklyne.
Mm.
So my Jackie, I would always spell Jacky, up until I
Yeah.
got to the Philippines. When I got to the
Mm.
Philippines, my then manager, who passed away already, Tito Alfie, was like, you know, yung Jackie parang Jackie Chan, masyadong masculine, palitan natin ng IP. I
Uh-huh.
was like, it's so weird. And I remember, the first few autographs I gave were with a Y, because I couldn't get myself to do it. I couldn't remember. But so that's my original name, and I'm gonna stick to it,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Oh,
gosh, you claimed it in the universe. That's for sure.
yeah.
So, I just want to ask, going back to your acting career, what did you do to motivate yourself? Or actually, you said that you had fear of stage fright. So, how did you overcome that? Because, of course, when you're about to get on like let's say, a shooting or a performance, you didn't really have time to you know, prepare. So, when you're about to go on stage or start your movie or film, what was your
Yeah.
mantra or what was your ritual?
No, I would just really take deep breaths. And because when I was younger, I mean, I knew, like I said, right at 12, I told my aunt, like, I want to be on
Mhm.
stage. And she was thinking maybe
Mhm.
modeling, but she didn't understand, like, I wanted to act, right?
Yeah.
Um, I That was at 12. I had no idea what it meant. I just
Mhm.
knew, like, at school, at the plays, I would raise my hand if I wanted to, try to do the lead and stuff like that. But nobody sat me down and said, "Hey, look, this is a big commitment and responsibility. When you do movies and TV, people are going to start to recognize you. And here in the
Mhm.
Philippines, we talk about your personal life. And in the
Yeah.
Philippines, especially when I started in the early 90s, they were exploiting. Like, I had a lot of photographs at 13
Mhm.
in two-piece bikinis all
Mhm.
over, hung on in the jarios all over churches, and
Oh my
I got
gosh.
kicked out of my school, yeah, because
Oh
of
my
that. So
gosh.
I didn't really understand what it was about, which is also why I was shielding my children, because
Mm,
you could want to be insta famous like on
yeah.
Instagram and all these things, but then what happens when you get too much attention? I'm
Yeah.
scared of what that might do to them. So that's
Yeah.
why when they're ready, when they're sure, when I see that there's commitment, then slowly I'll let them do these things. For
Mm,
me, it was always a struggle.
mm,
For when you do movies, you do workshops first.
yeah.
So you have people there. You start getting comfortable with them. You start uh, enacting, reenacting out scenes or
Mm,
reenacting parts of the script, and you have your director there. So after a while, you're a little more familiar. That
mm,
helped. What what I struggled. I didn't like struggle. Internally, what I struggled
yeah.
with was television, because television is like they give you the script.
Mm,
2 3 days later, you're shooting already,
mm,
and then with someone that you didn't do a workshop with and stuff. But I guess my previous directors would always praise me, for my age, that I
yeah.
understood different characters and I could memorize long lines, and I
Mm,
knew the difference between comedy and drama and stuff like that. So I think that's why I was getting a lot of TV work, but that
mm,
but that drained me a lot. That burnt me out
yeah.
really bad, because I think that's what we lack here. We lack the kind of support pre
Yeah.
and post.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, that took a lot out of me. But and I was able to do it because I was dedicated to what I was doing.
yeah.
Um, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't. It
Mm,
really wasn't easy. I mean, even till now, when I think about like all the work that I would do, it's like every day I have work
yeah.
and different characters. It's tiring just thinking about it, because I don't know how I
Mm,
was able to get through it. But
yeah.
that's exactly why I kind of wound up in the situation where I just wanted to kind of settle down. I
Yeah.
probably just should have taken a sabbatical, not married someone. So yeah, that had some adverse side effects.
So, what would you advise? Because I know, of course, in the Philippines, there's a lot of stage moms that want their children to get into, the acting career, the showbiz. I mean, for me as a talent manager too, I become very maternal when it comes to a mom introducing their child to me. I give them the ins and outs. Okay, this is what's going to happen. It's a partnership. It's not just me, holding their hand. But for you, coming from experience as a young celebrity till now, what would you share with parents on how to take care of their children's, I guess, mindset and their, upbringing when it comes to introducing them to that world?
Okay, it's a little bit of a touchy subject, because
Yeah.
I've had conversations with other friends that are also
Mhm.
in the industry,
Yeah.
and so for me, like, and but you know me by now, like I will
Yeah.
say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
I don't mean to offend people. I don't mean to, but I just feel like if I have an opportunity to
Mhm.
share, and like now
Yeah.
you're asking me, right?
Mhm.
I just want to be as honest as I can, because I don't want to turn my back and think,
Mhm.
shoot, why did I say that? That's
Right.
not right. It's not real.
Mhm.
It just sounds nice, but it's not the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is, the truth is, growing up the way I did, right? You have to make sure that it's what your child wants. It's not what
Yeah.
you want.
Yes.
One, okay? When you talk to people about your child's contract, right?
Mhm.
Of course, they can't decide for themselves, but also
Mhm.
ask yourself what they think about it.
Yeah.
You might be signing a contract for them to endorse something, and the child has no idea what the use is for, or
Yeah.
what. And then she goes on the set and she's pressured to perform because you signed a contract.
Yeah.
Just because of it's going to pay well. Now,
Right.
there are circumstances where people are in need of money, and you have a child who's very gifted and can do it anyway.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like as much as possible, if you can, please consider your child's feelings too,
Yeah.
because right now it might look like she's having fun. Right
Mhm.
now it might look like, you know, strike while the iron is hot, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know how she's going to feel about this years down the line. So
Mhm.
you have to make sure what your child is doing. is for your child,
Mm-hmm.
for their future, and I think they're passionate about it because when the time comes, and let's say we all have bad days, but especially a child, right?
Yeah.
And she says, let's say Katie wakes up one day and she's like, "Mom, I don't feel like shooting," and you can always go back and say, "Well, you agreed to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do, I need to push you today to get dressed up, and eat your breakfast because we have a shoot for
Yeah.
you, not for me." It instills in them dedication and commitment at a young
Yeah.
age, right? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if where as opposed to you doing it for
Pushing them.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
them and making them do it, there's
Mm-hmm.
resentment that you're instilling in that child,
Right.
and that volcano is going to sleep until the day that it wants to erupt, and
Yeah.
you're not going to want to be at the foot of that volcano, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a mother, the last thing you want to do is see your child suffer. That's the
Right.
last thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And as pretty as it looks now,
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that that child is not slowly dying inside.
Right.
That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that concern me with my kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
like if you see my Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of Kaylee. And
Yeah.
it's not because she's my favorite. It's not.
Yeah.
It's because she's dedicated. She wants to
Yeah.
perform.
Yeah.
She practiced the song. That's why. A lot of the
Yeah.
videos with Johan, I feel like he's so young. They're cute moments
Mm-hmm.
that I share, but a lot of it
Yeah.
is like the videos is, "Mom, take my video.
Yeah.
Mom, post it." 'Cause he's starting to watch YouTubers and
Yeah.
all these things. And I try
Yeah.
to explain to him in a way that he can understand that,
Uh-huh.
you can't post all these things because, this is sensitive, or
Yeah.
maybe you might encourage other kids to do things that are not, a little bit violent because he's jumping, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's learning to understand. But then
Mm-hmm.
like with Jared, he's a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
14. So there are days where he's hormonal. There are
Yeah.
days he doesn't feel like it. And, it's a struggle. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
also careful with accepting little projects,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a mom, because I don't want to drag them into it. And then, he's having a bad day and he feels like he just
Mm-hmm.
wants to be in his room and
Right.
talk to his friends or finish his
Mm-hmm.
homework, a
Mm-hmm.
project. But then, I'm dragging them
Yeah.
to places. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents will probably be able to ace this one, but for me,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go by what I grew up with and where
Mm-hmm.
I felt,
Yeah.
uh, neglected, or
Yeah.
there was like, the little holes that my mom forgot to fill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm coming from. And again, you just have to
Yeah.
remember, as a mother, when you first laid eyes on your child, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that you swore to in your
Mm-hmm.
heart was to protect that child.
Yes.
So always think
Exactly.
about your intent and your motive when you do these things, right? You have to look
Mm-hmm.
a few steps ahead. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. Lastly, Jackie, who were your biggest mentors in your life, or people that you looked up to, or maybe if you listen to podcasts, can you share with everyone on who helps you shape who you are?
Well, honestly, my everything that I went through, uh, I've been away from my family since I was 12, basically.
Mhm.
So a lot of the things that I'm doing is because of experience.
Mhm.
When I was going through a dark time in my life, when I was pregnant with Jared, I felt very alone. I I just told myself I'm going to start reading again, and so I started
Mhm.
buying Christian books, self-help
Yeah.
books. But I had to make sure that they were Christian authors, so it
Yeah.
was a faith-based guidance that I was getting, and not just
Mhm.
science or what Doctor So and So said. Um, I started going to Bible study, so
Mhm.
I would be surrounded with women that were also going through things, women that had struggles, that could be honest and vulnerable. A big mentor that I that had a mentor that had a big impression on my life
Mhm.
um, were Robin Sam Johnson.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
They were my friends first, and I would go
Yeah.
to Bible study because it was light with them.
Mhm.
They never judged. They're
Yeah.
always loving and welcoming and
Mhm.
open. They never, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I
They
love
never
Rob and
really,
Sam.
yeah, they never, I'm talking too much. Girl
Mhm.
from Japan, no one to talk to? Wow.
I know. Tell me about it. That's the reason why I brought this platform alive, because people like you, I know, are usually busy. Inspiring others are, have a little time to share. So that's why I made sure I had you on and everybody else who's been part of this. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate it, Jackie. You've shared so much. There's so much more to talk about, and for sure, I'm going to invite you again, and be more specific on a topic that you would like to talk about. But lastly, you want to give a shout out to anyone out there and possibly follow projects, certain advocacies that you are supporting right now?
So when I came back here to the Philippines, I just told myself I would have some advocacies. So one account that I do follow and I try to help when I can would be the Kairos
Hmm.
Foundation.
Hmm.
These are children that are suffering. They're going through treatment for
Yeah.
cancer, and so they have needs also that they need help with.
Hmm.
That's one. I also follow Antoinette for Cora
Hmm.
Cares. She helps
Hmm.
feed the poor, and
Hmm.
right now she's also looking into doing things sustainably for our environment. So those are two things. I haven't really, you know, been able to delve into too much because we were moving and then lockdown
Yeah.
happened.
Hmm.
But I don't listen to podcasts. I do. I just read a lot of. I read books and
Hmm.
I talk really to people. I also
Hmm.
actually I counsel women on my
Yeah.
Instagram, so that I'm not always on Instagram like
Yeah.
looking at stuff. I'll post sometimes, but mostly I talk to women in my DMs. They slide into my DM.
And that's what's so amazing about you, Jackie. You've always been an open book. You've always been, like you said, what you feel is what you say. And I love hearing the fact that you counsel other women, because we need that kind of support group. We always need, to share our story to inspire others. And for sure, guys, I'm sure right now Jackie is more than happy to answer any more questions you might have, or even if you want advice. Like Jackie said, she's open to that, and we're all about inspiring others. And I love the fact that Jackie also shared that actions are what matters. You just have to get up, take a shower, wash off the negativity if you need to. Doesn't matter how many showers you want to take a day. It's okay. It's okay to cry also, and just accept the feelings, because you're human. You just have to accept the fact that right now you're forced to just relax. You're forced to just take it easy, because this is not, we cannot control what's going on right now. We can only be hopeful, we can pray, and you're supporting each other by just staying home. That's making sure that the virus is, of course, we're flattening the line. So with that, guys, actions speak louder than words. And thank you again for tuning in another episode of In Love With Me. Thanks, Jackie.
Bye, bye, Mama. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching and Love of Me series.